So this morning we're going to talk about calling with Microsoft Teams. So I'm going to take you through various aspects of it. Not too deep a technical discussion there, but going to look at why it's there, the offering that ComputerWorld have around Microsoft Teams calling. Have a look at some of the features and the configuration, and then we're going to kind of look at a use case there and just some final thoughts. Any questions that you have as we go along, then pop them in the chat, and Megan, my colleague, will consolidate those, and we'll go through those at the end of the session. So what is the reason for Microsoft calling? What is it? Hybrid working, home working, the pandemic, coronavirus. Let's get all of those questions out of all of those words out of the way to start with. But there's absolutely no doubt, although the world was changing and unified communication has been talked about for years, the pandemic, coronavirus, accelerated that process for us. Overnight, we found ourselves working from home, and over the subsequent years, we found ourselves working in this hybrid way where some people are coming into the office, some people are working from home, but it's fundamentally changed the way in which we work. It's just significantly increased the communication and collaboration that we do online and electronically. And throughout that, some things haven't changed at all. The traditional analog phones that we use have been around for a long time, since 1863, when Alexander Graham Bell made that first call, and I think he said, "Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you." So he clearly wasn't going to spend a lot of time on the phone talking to him. He just wanted to summon him for a hybrid meeting. It's been a part of the business layout, and I suppose the only significant thing with business communication that's changed since then has been probably over the last 25 years when email has become a core part of that. And yet we've got a situation where the PSTN and ISDN networks will be turned off at the end of September 2025. The telephone system is vanishing, and as part of that, and throughout that, Microsoft Teams and other products as well, which are out there, have become your hub for communication. Most of us will be arranging our meetings over Teams. I don't know if I'm just the only one who's getting lost now in finding out how to set up a Zoom meeting, but what I'm finding is that most of my meetings are over Teams. Webinars like the one we're delivering today is happening over Teams, but my calling hasn't changed. I've still got my workstation here in the office. I've still got a wireless phone which connects via copper directly to BT's network, and that has not changed. And I don't think my wife will let me get that out of the house, because I think it's the only way that her parents communicate with her. So what I'm going to introduce this morning is Voice for Teams. So Microsoft Teams has become quite dominant in the marketplace as a way of communicating electronically, kind of for meetings and for for audio calls. But we've never expanded that to enable us to support PSTN calls in that environment. So Microsoft have led in that technology, and ComputerWorld have put together a package which will enable organizations like yours to make use of that. I'm going to talk through the elements of that at the moment, in a moment. So ComputerWorld Voice for Teams will enable you to place and receive telephone calls from directly within Microsoft Teams. It's a tried and tested solution. There are millions of people using the Teams phone system. There are lots of people who are using this kind of technology, but we've brought it all together into a turnkey solution that can be used by your organization, where we can help you implement that and support that, project manage the transition from your existing telephony solution into using one which is kind of Teams focused and team centric. So the three elements of that are, first, the Microsoft Teams solution. Secondly, how we connect to the PSTN network, what we're using in that section is using a company that many of you would be familiar with, and where we'll look in a bit more detail at the moment, which is Gamma Communication, and then ComputerWorld to deliver that. So why Microsoft? Most of you will have Microsoft on your desktops, which is probably why you're talking to us. And so most of you will have an existing use of Microsoft throughout the organization, probably using Teams as the hub of your existing communication environment. I tried to find some figures earlier, and it's always difficult to pull figures out of the internet for things like this. But we reckon that there are 280 million active Teams users every month, and only 17 million of those have Teams phones at the moment. The reason that Microsoft is a good core area for your telephony is that a lot of the pieces of the jigsaw that you need to implement it are already in place. And one really important one of those is the Microsoft security. So Microsoft Teams telephony sits within the security umbrella provided by Microsoft 365, and the elements of that, so your multi-factor authentication, your identity management, all are the foundational elements that sit underneath Teams telephony. And we can support lots of different platforms in Teams telephony. You haven't got to go to start using a different phone handset. You haven't got to start using anything else. The Teams client, which is integrated, which the Teams telephony solution is integrated into, is supported on Windows, Mac, on iOS and Android for your mobile phones. So we can make use of that and use the tools that we already have within our business. So that's the first element of the CW Voice on Teams solution. The second one is the connectivity to the PSTN network, and we're using Gamma as a partner to deliver that element of it. Many of you will be using Gamma already as an organization. They are the world's #1 SIP trunk, the UK's #1 SIP trunk provider. They operate and own over a third of the world for the UK's telephony infrastructure. It's carrier class grade stuff that they have there. It's all very, very well worked through. As I say, most of you will be placing calls across that infrastructure already, and they've got over 500,000 seats, and they manage over 1 million SIP channels. And they were one of the first organizations to fully integrate with the ways in which we connect Microsoft's telephony solution to the PSTN network, those being direct routing and operator connect. And they were one of the first companies to fully integrate there and provide that level of support. The third element of the ComputerWorld, of the CW Voice on Teams solution, is ComputerWorld. So we have a track record in deploying Microsoft solutions. We've been doing it for years. We've got high levels of qualifications with Microsoft. We implement Azure infrastructure for a large number of our clients, and we're also involved in deploying and managing the Microsoft Teams infrastructure. Our approach has always been a business consultancy-led approach in all of these areas, where we listen to your requirements, we understand your business, understand what you're trying to do, and then put a solution together that fits well with the way you want to do and to deliver those requirements. We project manage things really well. Any of you, and many of you I know from seeing the list of people attending who have used ComputerWorld, will know how good our project management is and how essential that is in causing a kind of a successful implementation with a minimum disruption to our users. And when we start to talk about phone systems, there's a lot of potential for disruption because we're moving telephone numbers and porting numbers from one platform to another. So we need to get that that element of it done very effectively and with that minimum of disruption. The other thing is our support services. So we have service desks and help desks in place already that are proven that many of you are using, that will help with the system configuration and with end user support as well for the telephone solution. So what is the Microsoft telephone system? Many of you will have seen on the Teams client that there is a calling tab, which without the ability to connect to the PSTN network, purely sits there as providing a history of calls that you've made on a Teams to Teams basis, so within the Teams infrastructure. The phone system expands that, and when we add a Teams phone license to Teams, then that will activate that area of Microsoft Teams and releases and unlocks these features that we're looking at on the screen here. So it's got a very wide range of features available to you. At the beginning of the COVID lockdown, lots of people were starting to look at the Teams telephony solution and finding that there were not many features there, and there wasn't the ability to replace all of the features that they were using within their existing PBX solutions, either those being on-premise or within an existing non-Microsoft cloud. However, over the last 2.5 years, we've seen all of that functionality true up with what big businesses need. The addition of things like voicemail with voice to text has gone in there. Just the pure kind of ease of use of the solution, and therefore we're now confident that we can replace any existing on-premise or cloud-based PBX solution feature by feature with the Microsoft phone system. And all of that information and all of that configuration is actually done within existing areas that you know. So many of you will be familiar with the Microsoft Teams Admin Center, but many of you will not have clicked on the voice area here. So you can see that when we go into the Teams Admin Center, then the voice option will give us the ability to manage our phone numbers, and many policy-based things. So what are we going to do for different groups of users? How are we going to configure the operation of the telephone system? Things like auto attendance and call queues, how we manage, how the system works around holidays and weekends, and how the voicemail system works. But also, what are we doing with call groups and hunt groups and things like that? All of that is managed within the Microsoft Teams Admin Center, and as part of the CW for Voice environment, we will do the discovery for you to understand what your existing configuration is of your existing system around call groups and auto attendance, and then we will take those and replicate them within the Teams environment for you. We'll also bring your numbers across from the existing providers into that system so that they terminate directly in there. The great thing about this is, and I don't know if many of you will have got involved with configuring existing PBX systems, there were lots of codes and things that were driven from a handset. Now we get to see the configuration in front of us. We see our existing bank of users from Microsoft. We can then map those users to their phone numbers and build groups in a kind of with a graphical user interface to enable us to manage and configure the system. And as I say, as part of the CW Voice for Teams solution, we will do that discovery and we will build that configuration for you. The next bit is where's my handset? So in Microsoft Teams, once we've got the appropriate license in place, then we will be able to click on the Calls tab here. We will have a handset, a keypad appear for us. And that's where we can make our calls from. So we can dial those calls directly on the keypad with a mouse, but we can also go and create our, create lists of people that we phone on a regular basis. We can see our call history down here. We can see missed calls and other incoming calls down here. And so therefore we don't very often end up having to type a telephone number on that keypad. The other thing we've got is additional controls for the system, and these are down on the left-hand side here, and we'll have a look at those in a little bit more detail. But I can choose where I'm forwarding my calls to at the moment, whether I want to answer those or put them straight onto to the voicemail, etc. I've also got the ability to run this client on other devices as well. So the same Teams client will run on a mobile phone, so that if I have a call coming into me, it rings on my mobile device and I can answer the call there. We can run that on specialist, on Teams certified handsets, so we can have a traditional physical handset if we want to, and we can run that on iPads and Android devices and tablets. So just going to look at that in a little bit more detail, because what we can do is a lot more kind of configuration on the system here, the kind of day-to-day configuration that we need to do from the Teams client. So although we've done the fundamental configuration in the background, you may want to join a call group or leave a call group on a daily basis. If you're coming into the office and today's your turn on the help desk, you would join the help desk call group. And we can do that from Teams itself. We haven't got to go and dig into the back end configuration. We can do it from the client. So you can see here, I've got my keypad. I am a member of one call group, so you can see that I'm in that at the moment. And currently, I'm just forwarding my calls to that call group there. And you can see on the right-hand side that I've got the ability to choose what I do with those. I could just say I want to forward all my calls to Debbie Kelly or to my colleague Barry or to voicemail. I make that choice on the Teams client, so I haven't got to type in a kind of ##3# and then my extension number, etc., to get it to the voicemail. Second thing we look at there, if we're creating a call group, we can actually go and modify that online within the client. So you can see I've got my call group here, which I've got 2 of my colleagues in. I can actually edit that call group and go and add more colleagues to it. And I can decide at there, what do I want to do? Do I want to ring all of those people at the same time? Do you want to ring those in order? And we can also choose other ways to do that. So if we've got a help desk scenario, we can say we want to balance the calls across all of the users so that all the users get an equal number of calls allocated to them. And they're all things that you can do yourself using the graphic user interface in front of you. So let's just have a little look at a use case here, just to see how well the fact that your telephony is integrated in Teams can help you or help a user on a day-to-day basis. So I've chosen a use case of a sales professional, and we just thought of some of the things that he might be doing on a day-to-day basis. So he's in the morning, he joins a Teams call with the rest of his the sales team, a bit of a huddle, and he can take place. He can use that, and that happens completely within Teams. But then after that meeting, he needs to call a customer, so he can, without leaving Teams, call that customer directly by just going to the calling tab and typing his number in, or picking him from an existing list of people that he calls on a regular basis. He can then, on that call, and that would be a call to the client's physical phone, he could share a document in a Teams meeting to them, and that he's published in a Teams shared channel, and actually have that conversation and review the document. He could also then go and add someone else up to the call. So quite often the salespeople will add me to a call to just clarify some kind of technical issue around that call. And that can all happen in Teams, even though the client's actually on their PSTN connection. Later in the day, if he's working from home, so he's just he's working from a client site, he's just getting stuff through on his mobile phone. He can see that he's had a call from one of his suppliers, but he's had to busy that. But the supplier has left a voicemail. The voicemail can be automatically transcribed to text, so he can just have a quick look at his phone and see the relevance of that, and then he can add that information into the meeting that he's having with his client, and that's all within Teams. And then end of the day, he's got a call come in for something to do with accounts. He can transfer that across from his mobile phone, and then as he's heading off on holiday that evening, he can then go and set his out of office, which can automatically set his settings of who he's diverting his calls to, and set his out of office message, all within that Teams environment. So that's just a very simple kind of set of things that one person may be doing, just showing the impact of having Teams telephony across that. So that's all I'm going to cover at the moment. I know there will be some questions, but just some final thoughts on this. I think it is time to move away from our heritage phone systems. I think we are getting used to now not having a phone system on our desk and actually receiving those calls through our mobile phones. And I know a lot of people will have used cloud-based IP telephony with different clients that aren't the Microsoft clients, but they just seem to be really unreliable because they're not integrated into your Teams environment. I know we've used a phone system which uses a 3CX phone system and found the clients to be very unreliable at times. Then just enabling calling to landlines directly from a Microsoft Teams is a game changer for lots of people. It means you can stay in that Teams client all the time and make good use of that. Being able to receive the calls on your mobile phone as well, or on an Android phone or a tablet, also is a bit of a game changer as well. And just reliably having those calls coming to you wherever you are, whether you're in an office, whether you're in a home office, or whether you're out and about. And that whole fact that it's integrated into Teams means that it's integrated into your existing business processes, so you can easily forward calls to people who are within the organization by name, not having to remember numbers for people. And our solution, CW Voice for Teams, is a turnkey solution. It's fully planned and implemented and supported by ComputerWorld. We will, as part of the process, kind of sit down and understand your requirement, and then as part of a discovery exercise, understand how your existing telephony solution is configured and replicate that within the Microsoft Teams environment so that you get that functionality that you're used to as part of your new environment. Also, fully manage that migration of numbers and that porting of numbers across to your environment, so that literally, over a weekend, you can come in leave it on the Friday using your old system, come in your Monday, it'll be configured and ready to go. And we will also deliver training as part of that, so that your end users can start to make use of the functionality straight away and start to use some of the enhanced functionality we've talked about, the configuration that can be done through the Teams client. So that's all I was going to say today, but we are offering a complimentary discovery session. So if you're interested in looking at that in any more detail, then do reach out to us. I think my colleague Megan was going to provide a QR code for that, but we'll put that in the chat of the meeting. We'll give you a demonstration and show you what can be achieved, discuss how you're using your phone system at the moment and ways in which that Teams could potentially enhance that, and to come up with a list of recommendations. Also look at your hardware requirements. Some people do still want physical phone handsets. Some people will just get by with a headset. And we can also look at other elements of communication like Teams rooms, etc. And we'll put together a proposal for that solution and a number of recommendations. So thank you for your time today. I hope that's been useful for you. If there are any questions, then we'll respond to those. But yeah, if that's all I've got for you today. And thank you very much for your time.